Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to Her Secret Diaries. If you are new here, this is the little corner of the internet where I share the quiet stories people often forget to tell. Stories about love, mistakes, forgiveness, and the strange little moments that change a life forever. My name doesn't matter nearly as much as the memories I carry. And today I want to tell you a story that still makes me laugh when I think about it. It's the story of my very first a tiny video that somehow turned an ordinary afternoon into something I never expected. You see, I am 73 years old, which means most of my life happened long before the internet decided everyone should be on camera all the time. When I was young, if you wanted to tell someone something, you either wrote them a letter or you walked to their house and knocked on the door. The most viral thing in our town was gossip that spread from the bakery to the grocery store before lunch. But life changes in strange ways. And sometimes those changes arrive in the form of a teenager holding a phone. My granddaughter Lily is 16. She has bright eyes, quick laughter, and the kind of energy that makes you feel tired just watching her. She moves through the world like everything is happening at double speed. Her thumbs move across her phone so fast it looks like she's playing the piano. One Saturday afternoon she came to visit me. It was a quiet day. I had just finished watering the plants on my porch. The sun was soft, the air smelled like freshly cut grass, and the only sound was the wind moving through the trees. Lily walked in without knocking, the way grandchildren always do. "Grandma," she said, already laughing before she even sat down, "we need to make you a TikTok now." When someone my age hears the word TikTok, we imagine a clock. Tick-tock, time passing. But apparently that is not what it means anymore. "A what?" I asked. "A TikTok," she repeated, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "I don't dance," I told her immediately. She burst out laughing so hard she nearly dropped her phone. "Grandma, not every TikTok is dancing." I raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure about that? Because every time I see it on television, someone is spinning around like they're auditioning for a musical." She sat beside me on the couch and began explaining. "TikTok," she said, "is where people post short videos. Some are funny. Some are emotional. Some are cooking videos. Some are stories." "Stories?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "People love stories." I looked at her carefully. "Lily, I have lived through 3 wars, 4 presidents, and a neighbor who tried to start a llama farm in the middle of our street. Of course I have stories." Her eyes lit up. "That's exactly why you should be on TikTok. Now I want you to imagine this moment carefully. A 73-year-old grandmother, sitting on a floral couch, being told she needs to join one of the fastest-moving social media platforms in the world." It sounded ridiculous. But Lily was already opening the app. "Look," she said, holding the phone toward me. Videos flashed past quickly. A man cooking pasta. A girl dancing in a grocery store. A dog wearing sunglasses. A grandmother telling a story about how she met her husband in 1958. That last one caught my attention. The woman in the video looked about my age. She was sitting in a rocking chair, speaking calmly, while thousands of comments floated below her video. People were writing things like, "Reminds me of my grandma. I wish my grandmother told stories like this." This made me cry. I leaned closer to the phone. "How many people watched this?" I asked. Lily looked at the number. 3 million. 3 million. Now in my entire life, I had probably spoken to maybe a few thousand people face to face. 3 million felt like the population of a country. I sat back slowly. "Well," I said, trying to sound casual, "I suppose one video wouldn't hurt." That sentence changed everything. Lily jumped up like she had just won the lottery. "Oh my gosh, Grandma, this is going to be amazing." I was not so sure. The first problem was the camera. Most people today grow up with cameras everywhere. But when I was young, cameras were rare and important. You didn't just take 50 pictures of lunch. A photograph was something special. So when Lily pointed her phone at me, I froze. "Just act natural," she said. I stared at the phone like it was a strange insect. "This is not natural," I replied. She laughed again. "Grandma, just talk. Talk about what? Anything." That is when I realized something. For most of my life, I had told stories across kitchen tables. While washing dishes. While folding laundry. While sitting on the porch in the evening. But suddenly, a tiny black circle on a phone was asking me to do the same thing. Except potentially millions of people could hear it. That felt different. Very different. I cleared my throat. "Hello," I said slowly. Lily shook her head. "Too formal." "Too formal?" I asked. "Yes. Just talk like you talk to me." So I tried again. "Well, my granddaughter says I need to make a TikTok, although I'm still not entirely convinced this isn't some kind of prank." Lily giggled behind the camera. "That's good," she whispered. Encouraged, I continued. "My name is Margaret. I'm 73 years old, and apparently I'm now a TikToker." I paused. "Is that what we're called?" "TikTok creators," Lily corrected. "Well, that sounds far too professional for someone who still writes grocery lists on paper." She nearly dropped the phone laughing. When the recording ended, she watched the video. Then she turned the phone toward me. I saw myself on the screen. My gray hair was slightly messy. My sweater had a small stain from the tomato soup I ate earlier. My voice sounded older than it does inside my head. I frowned. "I look like someone's grandmother." "Grandma," Lily said gently. "You are someone's grandmother. Fair point." She posted the video. And just like that, my first TikTok existed. At first, nothing happened. 5 views. Then 10. Then 20. I told Lily it was fine. I didn't expect anything dramatic. We made tea and sat in the kitchen. But every few minutes, Lily checked the phone. Her eyes kept getting wider. "Grandma, yes. It has 2,000 views. Is that good?" I asked. She stared at me. "Grandma, it's been 15 minutes. 15 minutes. When I was young, 15 minutes was barely enough time to boil potatoes." Apparently it was enough time for 2,000 strangers to watch a grandmother talk about being confused by TikTok. By evening, the video had 50,000 views. I still didn't fully understand what that meant. But Lily did. And she was pacing around my living room like a sports commentator. "Grandma, the comments are blowing up." "Blowing up sounds dangerous," I replied. She started reading them to me. Someone wrote, "She reminds me of my grandma." Another comment said, "Protect this woman at all costs." One person wrote, "Please tell more stories." That last one stayed with me. Tell more stories. You see, something strange happens when you get older. People assume your stories are finished, but they aren't. They're just waiting for someone to ask. The next day Lily came back. "Grandma," she said, "we have to make another one." "We?" I asked. "Yes, we're a team now." I laughed. "What should I talk about?" She thought for a moment. "Tell them the story about the red suitcase." Now that story. Well, that is a long one. But I started telling it. About the old suitcase I carried when I moved to the city at 19. About the letter inside it that changed my life. About the train ride where I nearly got off at the wrong station. Lily recorded everything. When she posted the video, something unbelievable happened. It reached 1 million views. 1 million people. I sat in my kitchen staring at the number. "How is that possible?" I whispered. Lily smiled. "People love real stories, Grandma." Messages started arriving. Young people saying they missed their grandparents. Older people sharing their own memories. One woman wrote that she watched my video with her grandmother every night. I felt something warm in my chest when I read that. Because suddenly, this silly little TikTok experiment wasn't just entertainment. It was connection. Weeks passed. Then months. Every few days Lily came over and we recorded another story. Sometimes they were funny. Sometimes they were sad. Sometimes they were just small memories about life before smartphones existed. The channel grew slowly. 10,000 followers. 50,000. 200,000. But the strangest part was what happened in my daily life. One afternoon at the grocery store, a young cashier stared at me. Then her eyes widened. "Wait, are you the grandma from TikTok?" I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my apples. Imagine living 73 quiet years. And suddenly a teenager recognizes you from the internet while scanning your bread. But the real reason I kept making videos wasn't fame. It was the letters. People began sending messages about their own families. One man wrote that he hadn't spoken to his mother in 5 years, but one of my stories reminded him to call her. Another girl said she started recording her grandfather's memories because she didn't want them to disappear. That is when I realized something important. Stories are not just entertainment. They are bridges. Between generations. Between strangers. Between past and present. All from a little phone camera. One evening Lily asked me something unexpected. "Grandma," she said, "do you know why your videos work?" I shook my head. "Because you talk like you're speaking to one person." I thought about that. Maybe she was right. Because whenever I record a video, I don't imagine millions of people. I imagine one person sitting quietly. Listening. Maybe someone who feels lonely. Maybe someone who misses their grandmother. Maybe someone who just needs to hear that life doesn't end when you get older. In fact, sometimes the most surprising chapters begin after 7. And that is the story of my first TikTok. A tiny video made on a quiet afternoon that somehow reached people all over the world. If you had told the younger version of me that one day millions of strangers would listen to my stories through a small glowing screen, I would have laughed. But life has a funny way of surprising us. And sometimes the most unexpected things begin with a teenager saying, "Grandma, we need to make you a TikTok." And if you had told me back then that the little video Lily recorded on a Saturday afternoon would turn into something much bigger, I would have laughed and told you that you were imagining things. But life has a strange sense of humor. Because after that first video and the one about the red suitcase, people kept asking for more stories. Every time Lily opened the comments, there were hundreds of messages that all sounded a little like the same request. "Tell us another one, Grandma. Please share more memories. Your voice feels like home." That last comment stayed in my mind longer than the others. Your voice feels like home. I never imagined that a voice could travel across the world through a phone and make someone feel that way. But apparently it could. The next video we recorded happened on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Lily had just come home from school, still wearing her backpack, and she sat at my kitchen table eating cookies while scrolling through the comments. Her eyes kept moving quickly. "Grandma," she said suddenly, "someone asked how you met Grandpa." Now that question made me pause. Because some stories are simple to tell. And some stories carry a little more weight. Your grandfather, Harold, passed away 12 years ago. But when people ask how we met, I can still picture the moment clearly, like an old photograph that never fades. "All right," I said slowly, "but if I tell that story, you have to promise not to laugh at the embarrassing parts." Lily grinned. "No promises." She placed the phone on the table and pressed record. And just like that, I began another story. "You see," I said, "I met your grandfather because of a pie." Lily nearly choked on her cookie. "A pie." "Yes," I continued, trying not to laugh. "A blueberry pie, to be exact. When I was 21 years old, I worked in a small bakery. It was the kind of place where the windows were always foggy from the ovens, and the smell of sugar drifted out onto the sidewalk. One afternoon I was carrying a fresh blueberry pie to the display window when someone opened the door too quickly. We collided. The pie flew out of my hands, and it landed directly on a young man's shirt. That young man was Harold. For a moment we just stood there staring at each other, both covered in blueberry filling. Then he started laughing. Not a polite laugh. A full, loud, ridiculous laugh. And for some reason, I started laughing too. Instead of getting angry, He said something I will never forget. "Well," he said, looking down at his ruined shirt, "I guess this means you owe me dinner." Lily laughed so hard behind the camera that she nearly stopped recording. When I finished telling the story, she wiped tears from her eyes. "That's the best meet cute ever," she said. "I have no idea what a meet cute is," I replied. "It means the moment two people meet in a funny way." "Well," I said, "being attacked by a blueberry pie is certainly memorable." We posted the video that evening. By morning, it had 3 million views. 3 million people had watched the story of a pie that changed my life. But something else happened that surprised me even more. The comments were filled with people sharing their own stories. One woman said she met her husband because she spilled coffee on his laptop. Another man said he met his wife when their dogs tangled their leashes in the park. And suddenly the comment section wasn't just about my story anymore. It had become a place where thousands of strangers were telling their own. Lily showed me one message that made me sit very quietly. It was from a young girl who wrote, "My grandma passed away last year. Watching you talk feels like I'm listening to her again." I read that message 3 times. Then I asked Lily to hand me the phone. "Can I reply?" I asked. "Of course," she said. So I typed a message with my slow fingers. "Your grandmother would want you to remember her stories. Keep them alive." After I sent it, I sat back in my chair. The kitchen was quiet, except for the ticking clock on the wall. Tick-tock, tick-tock. It reminded me of something funny. For most of my life, the only tick-tock I knew was the sound of a clock. But now it meant something else entirely. It meant stories. It meant connection. It meant people from different places finding small pieces of each other in memories. Over the next few weeks, Lily and I kept making videos. Sometimes we recorded in the kitchen. Sometimes on the porch. Once we even recorded in the garden while I was trying to pull weeds. That one became popular for a very unexpected reason. You see, halfway through the video, I forgot what I was saying. I just stopped talking and stared into space. Lily asked Grandma, "Are you okay?" And I replied, completely honestly, "I forgot the story." The internet loved that moment. People said it was the most relatable thing they had ever seen. Apparently, forgetting what you were about to say is universal. But the most important video we made came from a very ordinary object. One afternoon, Lily was wandering through my living room when she noticed an old wooden box on the shelf. "What's inside that?" she asked. "Letters," I said. "From who?" "From friends, family, and your grandfather." Her eyes widened. "Real letters." "Yes, Lily. Before texting existed, people actually wrote things down." She sat beside me immediately. "Can we read one?" I hesitated. Those letters were private memories, but then I thought about something. Stories only survive if someone shares them. So I opened the box. The paper inside had turned slightly yellow with age. I pulled out one envelope. "This one," I said, "was written in 1969. Lily looked amazed. "That's older than Mom, much older." She turned on the camera. I read the letter slowly. It was from Harold while he was away for work. He wrote about missing the smell of the bakery, missing the sound of my laugh, missing home. When I finished reading, Lily was quiet. "You okay?" I asked. She nodded. That was beautiful. We posted the video that night. Within 2 days it had 5 million views. But again, the comments were the most powerful part. People started saying they wanted to write letters again. Some even posted videos writing to their grandparents. That is when Lily told me something that made me smile. "Grandma," she said, "you're starting a trend." I laughed. At my age, the only trend I expected to start was reminding people to bring sweaters. But maybe trends don't always have to be dances or challenges. Sometimes a trend can simply be remembering what matters. Weeks turned into months. The channel continued to grow. Every time Lily visited, We recorded another story. Sometimes funny, sometimes bittersweet, sometimes just a small memory about ordinary life. And slowly something changed inside me. At first I thought I was just making videos for Lily. Then I realized I was also making them for the people watching, but eventually I understood something deeper. I was making them for myself, because telling stories helps you see your life more clearly. Memories that once felt small suddenly shine brighter when you share them. One evening, Lily asked me a question. While we were setting up the camera, "Grandma, what was the happiest day of your life?" I didn't answer immediately, because happiness is complicated. Is it the day you get married? The day your child is born? The day you accomplish something you worked years for? I thought carefully. Then I said something she didn't expect. The happiest day of my life was an ordinary Tuesday. She blinked. What happened on that Tuesday? Nothing dramatic, I said. I woke up next to your grandfather. We drank coffee together. We walked to the market. We laughed about something silly. I looked at the camera, and in that moment, everything felt complete. Lily didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then she whispered, "That's beautiful." The video became one of our most shared posts. Apparently millions of people were comforted by the idea that happiness doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it quietly sits beside you during an ordinary Tuesday. Now when I look back at that first TikTok Lily recorded, I realize something. It wasn't just the beginning of a channel. It was the beginning of a new chapter in my life. At 73, I expected life to become quieter, smaller, but instead, a little camera opened a door to conversations with people all over the world. And every time I sit down to record another story, I remember the same thing. Stories don't belong to the past. They belong to anyone willing to listen. So if you are watching this, wherever you are, I want to leave you with a small piece of advice from someone who has lived a long time. Ask your grandparents about their lives. Ask your parents about their memories. Ask your friends about the moments that shaped them. Because one day, those stories might disappear if no one listens. And sometimes the most meaningful things in the world are hidden inside the simplest question. Tell me a story. And believe it or not, my very first TikTok started with exactly that.